Hey everybody, it's Matt Michaels here on the Vegas Badboyz of Podcasting. Today, I am joined by an up-and-comer who is taking the world by storm, Ashley D. Because I freaked out and stopped it.
Ashley
Let
D is great.
let everyone know though how to pronounce your last name, so if they ever encounter you, they don't say it wrong.
Okay, Ashley D'Amboise.
D'Amboise, see, D'Amboise. I should be able to do
D'Amboise.
that. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's the spelling. Just close out the letters in your head and just say D'Amboise. But
Is
I'm
it
doing well.
is it what's the background on your heritage, or is it
Oh, that's a
where does
fun. It's French,
okay,
so I love it. And apparently it means like of the trees or of the forest, which
really?
yeah. So got a little fairy spirit. But my dad's side of the family, that name is really, it was made famous from my dad's uncle, Jacques d'Amboise. So he
Okay.
was the first male principal ballet dancer for New York City Ballet. And
Wow.
yeah, so
Wow.
dance has
uh
been in my blood for a minute now.
yeah, I was just gonna say, was that something that as a little girl that you were involved in? Did your parents ever push you that direction, or did you ever decide, hey, I want to do this?
Oh, totally. So my dad was all into me doing ballet. He was a third degree black belt, and I was like, I want to
Ah.
fight. And he's like, no, you're going to do ballet. And then my mom always wanted to go to New York City. She was a Miami Dolphins cheerleader. She was a jazz dancer, a theater girl, like wanted to do all of the above. And when I started getting into dancing, and then I didn't actually buy into it until I saw a Backstreet Boys concert when I was 8 years old. And then I was like, I want to be a superstar. I want to be a backup dancer for the Backstreet Boys. That was a superstar for me. And that's where I was like, okay, I'm going to go. I'm going to travel the world. I'm going to move to New York City. And my mom was all for it. And my dad was like, yes, you're not going to be a fighter. Go dance. And here we are. We'll circle back to wrestling through dancing and bodybuilding. I've come to wrestle now, and oh my goodness, over the pandemic is when I really started to like get into it. And he saw me do a few bumps at like he saw me do a snapmare. He saw me give a snapmare and take a snapmare, and he was like, "Ma chérie, no, you're not going to do that." He has got this really thick French accent. And he's like, you need to take a judo class or a jiu-jitsu class and learn how to fall, because you're falling and you're going to die. Like the way you're taking the floor is not good. So I started doing jiu-jitsu over the pandemic, and then one thing led to another. I ended up with Team Adams at Damian Adams School in Warren, New Jersey. Moved out of the city, went to Jersey, and yeah, the rest is history.
uh, when you think about having the support of your family and the the anxiety you put your dad through in terms of taking bumps, and
Yep.
um how do you because obviously, it's funny because support is one thing, and then the reality of actually seeing your daughter take a bump. How do you, as someone who's very passionate about it, very into it, um, how do you put their mind at ease that what you're doing is, even though it looks, horribly painful, even though at times, we've all, those of us who've been in the ring, we've all taken bumps that, you know 3 weeks later you're still going, what the hell did I do?
Yeah.
How do you
Can't
put
look to the left.
oh, I'll tell you, I once I spiked the top of my spine
Oh,
ground, and I had to still, I was still driving. I was in LA, so I was driving from Burbank down to like Huntington Beach to train. And at that point, because I was injured, I couldn't train. So I was driving just to watch, absorb, etc. I couldn't turn my head to look to see if another car was coming in the other lane. So,
I heard, yeah, wrestlers turn their body.
yep, exactly. That's what I learned. I'm like, oh yeah, that's how you do it. Just kind of like that.
From the waist.
But but is it something that you've been able to put their mind at ease that, hey, what I'm doing here, I am fairly in control. Plus, the people I'm working with also work to protect me, so we protect each other. Did that have to be something you had to explain on how that aspect works? That you're not trying to kill each other.
I think my mom is more, I talk to her more about it and the fact that I continue my training. It's not like, okay, I trained and now I'm going to be doing shows all the time. It's like the fact that I continue training and learning better techniques, better ways to absorb impact. My mom is more like, okay, honey, like I don't really have to explain it too much to her. It's like, I got it, mom. And she's like,
Yeah.
go for it. She's going to support me no matter what. My dad is the one who I don't think he still believes me because he's like, he'll watch my matches on AEW, or the most matches I've had have been with that company. And he's
Right.
like, okay, babe, you're getting a little bit better, a little bit better. Like your technique is getting there, but like you still need to do this like straight. I don't think he fully grasps it, and I love it. I want him to believe it, so I don't want to ruin it. I won't tell him about this podcast because I want him to still believe it. No, but like he's right in a way too, because like I'm still very awkward in the ring. I'm still very new compared to where I want to be, for sure. What I know I can do, but like it's just going to be getting more experience, getting out there, getting more reps in. So it's really impressive for me to, he comes from the karate background. He doesn't know much about wrestling, although he's the reason why I have ever watched WWE, WWF back in the day. That was our daddy daughter time. So like if you grow me up watching that, that's gonna stick in my head a little bit, and I'm gonna be like, oh, that's really freaking awesome. Like I want to do that one day. But like
Oh.
but then I kind of translated it into dance, and then when that didn't work out, I had people telling me like, I have this one friend who is the sole reason why I even stepped foot in a ring. He believed in me so hard that I literally had no choice. I had to do it. He was like, just be a valet. Just be my manager. Come walk me into the ring. All you gotta do is like walk in and stand there. And then because of my background with dance and choreography, and then now bodybuilding at the time, he was like, she'll be fine. We're just gonna tell her that she's gonna do a spot when we get there. And so I get there and I'm like, oh, I just gotta stand there and like look pretty, right? And he's like, yeah. He brings me back to the locker room with all the guys, and they're like, all right, so there's gonna be this one part. When you see me do this, I'm gonna go around, you're gonna slide in the ring, you're gonna punch me, and then the ref's gonna tell you to get out. And I was like, what? I don't know how to wrestle. They're like, you'll be fine. So like, I mean, it was like a dance for me at the time, because I was like, okay, just remember your choreography, and then remember your cue. Come on, and then get off. And that was my first thing in Brooklyn at LAW, is like this Brooklyn promotion that's still happening. And I wasn't even wrestling, but I got my first concussion. And
Oh shit.
so yeah, actually, this is a story that nobody really knows. This was before I was like, this is actually what put me, averted me from wrestling, because I did this one little thing. I was just supposed to be a valet, like talk shit, and then that's it. The spot they had me do got a lot more intricate, and it came to a part where so my friend is Joel Rude Awakening. He's still wrestling and managing now. And he was like, all right, they're gonna throw me out of the ring. I'm gonna roll out under the rope. You pick me up. You're gonna squat me, and then you're gonna walk me on your shoulders, put me back on the ring, and then just like stand back. And I was like, I could do that. I can squat you. Let's go. So like, I pick his body up, we do the thing, and now I'm like getting really animated and into it. And there's a pillar behind me, like a
Oh no,
like a
like
cement pillar.
a support
And
beam.
Yeah, so awareness of my surroundings wasn't there. I was like in the ring and or in the show. So I'm like leaning against the ring between I put him down in front of me. So there's his ass and then the pillar. The big guy
Oh,
on the other side of the ring hits the ropes, bounces into him. His ass hits my head hits the pillar. And I did one of those like it kind of went back and forth a couple times and I was like
oh, oh.
seeing seeing stars, and that was before I had to do like the bigger part where I like got in the ring, and I was like, one of the camera guys was like, "You were so into it," and then when that happened, I was like, "That was real though." She's not faking that part. So yeah, I had a walking concussion for like 2 or 3 days after that, and he's like, "You would be so good at this," and I'm like, "No, I don't know why people do this to themselves. This is horrible." He's like, "The adrenaline, it's so much fun." I'm like, "No, it hurts. No." But then yeah, he that was a funny story because then after that I started to like really get into it. I was like, but I did really like it, and then it just stuck in the back of my head, and he offered me someone to train me in Brooklyn, and at the time I was living in Florida. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna come back. I want to see what this is all about. And
Yeah.
yeah.
That's, you know, and you, to me, that's like one of the hardest tests, one of the things that you realize that you don't realize when you get into it is that the circumstances of certain, things that might get you concussed or, injured, or it's actually those unforeseen circumstances that will sometimes take priority. Like, man, you might like hurt your elbow or something doing a bump, or maybe your knees kind of tweaked a little bit, or an ankle. That's all normal. But when you get those first injuries where those people who are either cameramen, or if you're training fellow students, when they start going, "Oh my God, your sell on that was awesome," and you have to go, "No, no, no, real pain." And it's so funny because it is like you said, it's kind of like you start, then you question, "Well, why the fuck am I doing this? I'm putting my body through so much," and then you're like, "My God, that was so much fun."
I think I'm sick and twisted. I liked it. Oh my God.
And then you question your sanity for about 5 minutes. You're like, "Am I really that crazy to do this?" And you're like, "But you know what? It feels so good when especially
Yeah.
when you start accomplishing things, and you start. Did you have any as you were starting the training? Were there any moves or situations? When I say situations, I mean like learning climbing the ropes and doing moves from
Mm.
ropes, that was kind of a fear set when you were first encountering it, that you finally got over that obstacle and achieved that move, and you're just like, "Okay, I can breathe now. That's simple, I can do it," or has it been fairly natural and fluid for you?
Um, I will say the biggest thing, coming from a dance background where like even I've had some experience doing dance stunt work where we weren't called dancers in the company. The company calls them action heroes. And I never got to dance with the company or perform with the company, but I trained with them. It's called a Strebs Action Lab down in Brooklyn as well.
Nice.
So training with them, having a little bit of like, that was the only time I ever had training on how to fall on my face. And actually got my nose cracked back into place doing that, doing something wrong, but it
Ooh.
actually helped realign my nose. So I like unofficially broke my nose and then broke it back into place after that
Great.
audition. But fast forward, um, continuing dancing through the city and during my whole dance career, like any little thing that they would want to incorporate that was acrobatic,
Yeah.
you would land on your feet, or you would land on your hand, or like on some limb, and you
Right.
would catch yourself. Learning how to do a flip and land on my back was like it was like hardwired to land on my
Right.
feet. So there was like weird times where like, and maybe I'd do like a hip toss over rotate, and I would like kind of land on my feet, and I'd be like, actually no, like land on your back. Like
Yeah.
take the impact. If you land on like a certain way, you're going to disperse the impact. It's going to hurt less. The more you try to protect yourself, the more you're going to hurt yourself in the process. Trying to put your hand down when you're doing like a kitchen sink, you're going to you're going to hyperextend your elbow. Like, so doing a crossbody off the third rope, that scared me because I didn't have much where I ended up training in Wharton at Team Adams. There wasn't much top rope work that I could do or feel like I could do because the ceiling was very close to our heads. So it was like, oh, we're just gonna skip the top rope stuff. But the flippy stuff that we did, like a Hurricane Rana, with Damian Adams. He like, I pulled him back and he did like an airplane on my legs, and then he pulled me up and I launched myself up to his shoulders, and then having to flip backwards and trust that I'm gonna land safely and he's gonna flip over me. That going backwards, and so it's more like trusting the person you're with in the ring, to the extent where I was like, I don't trust myself, but if he thinks I can do it, and he knows he can do it. He's a genius, but like the way that he can flip around, like I feel like I'm a very big person. Like I'm 150 pounds, I'm 5'6". Like I'm not much bigger than him. I mean, he's not much bigger than me, but for him to be able to control my body backwards in midair with the momentum, I was like very afraid. But at that point, I just had to let go. So the learning process of trusting yourself, trusting who you're working with, and just like letting go has made all the difference. Because the more I tried to hold on, protect myself, question the other person, it just made everything worse. It was like, just go. And I still have problems with that, but I'm starting to chip into that mindset of like, trust, let go. You're gonna be fine. If you're not fine, then you'll heal later. It's fine.
Well, that's, I think you touch on something that's very important in terms of when you are trained a certain way, and with you being a trained dancer, especially a stunt dancer, and your instinct, you have to spend the first, you know, 3 to 6 months essentially getting your body used to breaking all the rules that you've taught it. And that is spectacular to see you go from that to what you're able to do now. I mean, that's really out of all the accomplishments, because, there are so many people who can do X, Y, and Z. Some kids get in the ring and they've been flipping around, since they were 6 years old. Just, it's been something they've wanted to do. But when you're trained, and your muscle memory is such that your goal in doing what you did was to protect yourself, the hardest thing to do is to break those conditioning habits of your body. And that to me is the most impressive obstacle that you've overcome. Is some people can't get out of the gate at that point, because that's all you keep doing is basically catching yourself on your feet, or just getting ready to plant that fall. And it's amazing that you've been able to overcome that. The second part of getting in and starting to train, obviously you are a performer going back your whole life. How comfortable have you been with the aspect of having to start developing a character? Have you found it easier to draw on your own personality to bring that, as us performers know, you just up that, 5 times, 10 times yourself, and there's your persona. How has that aspect been for you? Has that been, a fun journey to find who you are in this new career that you're creating.
Yes. So that the funny thing is, I like how you made the distinction between character and persona, because my coach said the same thing. He's like, you're gonna have like you choose. Are you either going to be this character where you are like something complete, like Abaddon is she's a character. She's a whole other thing than who she is outside of the ring. I'm sure like we all get inspirations from who we are, but then it's like how you enhance that to another level. So I would call her like a character that she's in the ring.
Right.
And then like in contrast to that, having a persona, like right now there's Damian Adams is the coach of Deanna Prazo, and she's always used as like the best example. Like she is a persona that she's like exaggerated to another degree, but she's still her, but she's not trying to be something else. So when I first got in on the team, I was like, what's my character gonna be? Like what can I do? Like I got this, like I can be like this person, or like he was like like you're gonna learn how to wrestle first, and then like it's like that will naturally like we'll start to see like little things you do in the ring, or how you sell things a certain way, and like that can help develop who you are. And I really honestly I'm still learning how to wrestle, so this is very still fresh, very new. I'm loving, all of a sudden something clicked where I was trying to figure out moves that feel like my moves. And what they like kind of brought in my mind was my passion for quantum sciences. And this is maybe going to be the weird part of the interview. But I study a lot through like Dr. Joe Dispenza and things where it's like concepts of time, and how time is a made up construct and it doesn't really exist. He has this thing where he says, if you become no one, nowhere, with no time and no thing, then in nothing you can create anything.
Yep.
But if there's something there, then you have to work with something. But if you can completely be nothing, nowhere, no one, no time, no place, then anything is possible. And I love that concept. So like I like the idea between the concept of that and Doctor Strange is probably my favorite. Sure. Like having this concept of time and how you can manipulate it, and like the action in that movie, the most recent one, like I want to find a way to make that my persona, where it's just like manipulating time. It doesn't exist. It's in the palm of my hand. So I'm working through that creatively, and I'm really excited about gear designs coming up and just like move sets I'm working on. But yeah, it's all like still really fresh, really new, really in like the playing.
Well, it's pretty cool too, because I think what you're seeing right now is very interesting in terms of like Alexa Bliss. You know, it's something that she's now, you could tell that when you're given something that is magical, supernatural, it's something fun to play with, as opposed to you know, being the tough, you know, I'm a wrestler, I'm gonna beat you. It's like, yeah, we get that.
I'm the best in the world.
Yeah, like there's a role for that. Absolutely, as wrestling fans, we love that kind of stuff. But at the same time, me personally, I'm a big theatrics person. You know, I love you know, Statlander is a great example.
Oh
like,
my God, I love her so
yeah,
much.
why can't
Alien.
she?
I'm kind of mad that she took the alien thing, honestly.
Oh, but you guys could have a an alien vortex you know, death.
Put it out in the universe. Let's go. Actually, the vortex is one of my movesets. Don't take it.
Vortex. There we go. I love it.
Wait for it. I'm gonna perform the vortex for you, and the quantum leap and stuff. But
you know, it's funny because just even saying stuff like that, I heard the word vortex, and then for whatever reason, I'm just like, Ashley Vortex. Wow,
Ooh,
that's a nice wrestling name right there.
it's easier to say too.
Yeah, of
Well, there's also Ashley Vox, so I feel like I don't want to step on her
yeah,
territory,
course.
but
But it's
maybe
interesting.
Ashley Vortex and Ashley Vox.
But it's fun to find, like, when you're sitting around and you're thinking about things, especially when it's stuff you like, it's the relatable things to you that makes you
Mm,
even more passionate about wanting to develop this persona,
yeah.
develop this, character. And I think the other thing too is that you see, like, so you go into a company like WWE, you're going to potentially be given something. And
Mm,
what's interesting about that is that if you can find the connection to something that you love, I think that at any point you can take what is given to you, even though it's nothing more than, let's say, an improv suggestion, essentially, which is, okay, you're a plumber who, hates doing his job, so you take it out on, the people in the ring.
mm,
Okay, sounds horribly stupid, but then if you find that little part of you that kind of connects and goes, you know what, I kind of do like getting my hands dirty, and yeah, I can see doing this or that. It's like it's anything you want to make it. And I think that that's
mm,
fascinating, the idea of Doctor Strange, especially because in recent years now with like Matt Hardy,
mm.
and the other cinematic type stuff they've been able to do in wrestling now, boy, that would be a fun thing if during the match time could change. It's like, yeah,
Yes.
I
Dimensions and realities shift. You're just like, what?
yeah,
Where are we now? And all of a
exactly.
sudden, yeah.
Yeah, and I think, it's funny because there's always a place for something, at least to even try it. And especially if you have a good producer, oh my
Mm,
God, it's limitless. If they see the vision that's in your head and they can take that out, make it physical, and then you make it your reality, oh my God, it's
so
gold.
exciting.
What what has it been for you in terms of um, the fact that you're coming along very quick? Like you said, you're still a little green, you're still learning, you're going to be learning probably for the
Yeah.
next, knock on wood, 15 to 20 years, because there's so
Yep.
much to it.
I never want to stop learning. So, yeah.
Yeah. But with that, how have the the locker rooms been in terms of the encouragement and because sometimes if you're developing quick, and that I know a few people that their whole thing is, well, it took me 15 years to get here, and you're trying to do this in 15 months.
Yeah.
Have you been able to avoid that negativity?
I want to say yes because, and I want to play into the fact that the pandemic had a huge shift in the change in women's wrestling
Yeah,
period.
yeah,
um I already knew coming into it that like girls are going to move along faster than guys, and that was something that I was like, okay, like I think that that's like that my guy friends that I made in wrestling, like they're going to genuinely be like, oh well, we get it. But
yeah.
with some of the females, I haven't had I just recently started getting into locker rooms, but like in the beginning of my training, there wasn't very many females to work with. So like
Sure.
the one or two girls that I was with, we were just like, yo, we're sticking together. Like you're my wrestling wife. And uh, you
That's
can't
awesome.
wrestle by yourself. You need someone to work with. So we always had that like, let's wrestle first, and then like we don't we don't have to be best friends. We don't have to like know each other's parents and stuff, but like when we get together, know that we're both passionate about the same thing. And the better I am when I work with you, the better you work for me, like the better we are going to make each other and get better, period. So when I started getting I've been in the WWR Plus locker room twice, and then all the other locker rooms were at AEW. So I feel super blessed about that. Yeah. So my debut was at AEW, and I think I didn't get to my face. I didn't get heat. So like, not that I know of. It was more of a surprise. Like, what? You've only been wrestling for 6 months and you're here, and then now I'm at 8 months, and it was just I got there at 7 months after training, and then now, am I doing the math right? I've had 8 months so far. So July I started in November. We can go back and do the math. December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July. 8 months. Yeah. So August will be my 9th. And during the pandemic, everything was closed down. So all I did was train. I had nothing else to do. So we were just working and training and working and training. And I think that's what accelerated me so much. And like Damian Adams knows all the, like, you're going to need this and that and this and that. And like the details of everything. I just felt so supported and like mentally ready when I got there. And I didn't experience any negativity. Actually, everyone back there was really freaking awesome. I had the most support, like when the people that I've wrestled with, like the actual wrestlers were like, if you need to go over it a million times, we'll go over it a million times, like whatever you need to do to feel confident in the ring. Because like to a certain extent, we understand that if I mess up, I make everyone involved look bad. So like the more that we support each other, I'm seeing a lot more like women encouragement, like women supporting women is a hashtag that I'm obsessed with, because like we can be the best to each other, or women can be the worst to each other. So the fact that I'm trying to keep my vibration high, and I'm just trying to see the good in everyone that I'm around, and I'm trying to bring the good with me wherever I'm around, I think that kind of gets contagious. And then we all kind of go, oh, like, okay, I can breathe a little bit easier back here. Going back to being in the locker rooms at WWR Plus, that has been an incredible acceptance of me and of like the newer girls from Team Adams that are coming in. And just like, I think having the promoters support so much, like Drew's support, and just being like I want to make this something great. Like we have to like work together, be there for each other. We're a roster. Like it really does feel like I had recently, before I did my first show for WWR Plus, I watched the series Glow. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, I'm in a glow. Like it felt like a little glow cast. So I popped for that. And even the second show I went back, I wrestled someone different, and it was just, I'm really happy to say like the vibes there are great. So I haven't had anyone like blatantly be like, you suck, but like I'm sure it'll come around, or I'm sure, I don't know. As long as people keep a good face so the energy stays up, I don't really care what's happening.
Well, I think that the key, there's a couple things you look for. One, first of all, you are a performer, and that sometimes rejection is part of the business, right? So I think a lot of people who get into wrestling or acting or music, they don't understand that you're going to have one acceptance for every 100 or so rejections. So you have to have thick skin in that light. So you obviously have that already, which is great. And then of course, as in any other profession that involves potentially having a contract, having bigger notoriety and stuff, there's always professional jealousy, because you're going to get it, but it's not like a full force of people who are going to gang up on, unless you're a real jerk. If you're a real jerk, you're probably gonna reap what you sow.
Just be a good person.
Exactly. And I think that
Yeah.
mostly that's what you see then, because I think you're absolutely right that um that bond, that idea of trying to support each other as women is something very important, especially in a business like this where it's only been within the last 10 years that all these ideas and stereotypes and treatments have been able to, start being reversed. And
Mm.
we start seeing that women's talent is a lot of times better than some of the men's stuff that is out there. Um, but it's also like AEW is wonderful because every single woman knows that they want to make that product so much better. Everyone knows that, fans are just like, well, the women's division, and it's like
Yeah.
there's that passion there. Everyone is hungry to help each other because you want to have, the standout work. And I think that, who doesn't want to be in that big spotlight of look what we created. The
Hmm.
guys, this company started, the guys were good, they were solid, they were the backbone of getting this foundation. And everyone said, the women can't do it. And look at what we accomplished. And I can't wait to see that come to fruition because I think that, you know, the idea of just having a strong knit group of people to come together, I think that's what, that I don't want to say competitiveness, but that desire to show the world, hey,
Hmm.
we can do something that's totally special, and we don't need, you know, Daddy McMahon to, you know, put us in these weird situations and characters. We can accomplish this, and we don't need
Oh yeah.
that. Yeah, exactly. With your vision of what you see for yourself in, let's say, the next 5 years, and I know it's a big scope, but what do you see yourself needing to progress on that will take you to that place you see in your mind? What do you think are the areas that you need to kind of focus on to help you excel to hit what you see as a goal in your head?
This might be a really big, uh, I hope it's not vague, but to me, it's probably the most, when I'm looking at people who are successful and people who have like the top titles, but not just because they have the title, but because they have like the crowd in the palm of their hands. It's like that's what I want to get good at. It's an energetic, when someone can literally, QT did this at the last Dynamite, and he spoke on it, like where he just stopped in the middle of the ring, he put his hand up, just to like see the reaction from the crowd, if there would be a reaction from the crowd. Oh God, I hope there is a reaction from the crowd. Either they're gonna boo me or they're gonna do something, like as long as it's not
Yeah.
quiet, like that's what I want to hone in on, because right now I am focused on the wrestling. When I have moments to interact with the crowd, it feels electrifying, and I'm like,
Yeah.
ooh, I want more of that. I want to be able to pull the crowd with me, like with, and that came with me in dancing. When I started to feel that as a performer with a dance audience in a concert stage, that is where the magic happened. That's where my passion turned into like an addiction for like, how can I
Yeah.
get more of this? Like it's almost like you put the crowd under your spell a little bit. That's where I'm coming in with the energy. When you can sync up with them and make them watch you, make them chant, have people there for you. And
Yep.
like it some of the great do just like maybe barely anything in the ring, but because the Rock drops an elbow, you're like, wow, like people's elbow, he didn't
Yeah.
do a 450 off the top rope, like he dropped an elbow, but like his charisma, his energy, his way of connecting with people, that's what I want to see develop as much as I can for forever, not even the next 5 years. So
Yeah.
getting beyond the part of feeling like a student still, like I'm always going to be a student in life. In
Right.
any, involved in so many. I have so many interests that I constantly keep track on. It's just where do I magnify the most? And right now, like wrestling is my primary focus. It is my career now. It's what I want to continue to hone in on forever. So like I'm going to continue being a student of the game, but I don't want to feel like a like I'm like a student of wrestling. I want to
Right.
be able to constantly train, but be so set on my foundation and trust myself to learn new things while being able to keep that connection and grow that connection with the reason why I'm wrestling is not just so that I can flip myself in a ring. It's so I can connect with people.
Yeah.
Change someone's mood or reaction or get it or have them feel something like while they're watching this sports entertainment because
Yeah.
that's what I love about it so much too. I want to be athletic. Anything I've ever done in life, I can't sit behind a desk and work a 9 to 5. I've come to terms with that when I was like 18 years old. I was like, I don't think I could do that. I'm going to go to college for dance. And just from there on, it's like I need my career to be athletic and to an extent performative.
Yeah.
And the way that it's come together, like I found a way to do that through every career I've had since professional dancing. Like even as a yoga instructor, it's a body work, and then I'm like delivering this class to my audience, my members, and then working in the fitness industry, especially at Orange Theory Fitness and at Equinox Gym. It was like I had a microphone on, I was performing for the class, like the energy was up. If it's not up, then it's like no one's going to be motivated to move their body, but it's still athletic. And then bodybuilding, I'm back on a stage. I was like, oh hell yeah, the athleticism comes in, and then I get to like perform it with glitter and rhinestone bathing suits and then my friend pulled me in. He's like, you got to do wrestling, and it literally was like the ultimate connection of all my passions in one. And I
Right.
was like, this is it. This is it. I get to like really connect with an audience, but I still haven't gotten to that point. So that's where I want to develop more, like really connect with the audience, where it's like you're mine.
Well, and I think that there's so many good examples of people to watch and just absorb. Like Jericho is the first one that comes to mind. Chris,
Oh
Chris
yeah,
can move his like pinky finger, and yeah, the place could. And I think
the
that
click of the pen.
yeah, right. It's
Like
like
what?
how is that? Like it's amazing when you can get people to buy and invest into something. um and I think I love the fact that you kind of already see that where actual moments, you don't have to continuously um be active. You don't have to
Yeah,
be running the ropes for a 7-minute match, essentially. Hit spot, hit spot, hit spot, hit spot. It's just like, hey man, stop for a second, turn your head, look, give that,
we're
because
here for them.
exactly. The other thing that I think that you're going to potentially have I just, because of your personality and because of your work ethic, I have a feeling that you are going to be one of those wrestlers that the next generation of 8-year-old girls are sitting and going, oh my god, know, oh, I want to do what she does. Look at, she's a superhero, and I think that it, something that it's really true, because, a lot of times we forget, because we're adults, we forget that perspective of, when we were little and we saw something for the first time and you're just like, I want to do that. And it's like, there are so many eyes on you that are going to basically want to be that type of person. And, you know, 10 years from now, you could be wrestling an 18 or 19-year-old that, you know, happened to be in a crowd that saw you wrestle. And I think that that connection, you know, so not only do you have fans eating out of your hands, but you also have little fans who are going to aspire to be a wrestler. And I think that's so exciting to know that you can have that type of effect on, you know, someone's life, someone who paid $40 to come into an arena for an escape of their life for 3 hours. It's so magical. And
That just gave me chills.
you're right. It's just like
Yeah.
because I think that at some point in our life, we all were there for that first time. You know, we all can kind of vaguely remember being, you know, 4 years old, 5 years old, 6 years old, and seeing, you know, for the first time something that made you go, oh, I want to do this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you always, when you were a kid, did you have a fun play imagination? Were you one of those kids who could just kind of create stories with, you know?
Well, what makes you think that? Um, oh my gosh, no one's ever asked that before. I literally, my best friend growing up and I, Jessica Bruno, she and I could say we were spoiled. We could have been like, Mom, I want this toy, and like we could get it, like to that extent where we could ask for a toy and then like at some point we would get it, right?
Yep.
Her and I, when we met in our little cul-de-sac, around like 5, 6 years old, we didn't like want toys. We wanted things to make toys. So we would sit like Harriet the Spy and like behind cars and like, because we didn't want to be like creepy, but we would like hide so no one could see us, and we would draw cars and then color them in and then cut out the cars, and then we would draw people. We called this game paper people. We would play Barbie dolls with our paper people, and we would create our own people, our own relationship stories. We would watch MTV when we weren't supposed to and like get ideas of like storylines and then like create our little paper people. And then we had all the guys in the block. We were like the only girls, and then her brother and all her brother's friends would play manhunt, and we would get in all sorts of trouble just like jumping through neighborhood yards and stuff playing manhunt. And then we found this magical place. So this is where like I think like the roots of all like my imagination and manifestation and like stuff came from this place called oh my god, did they call it the secret tree or the tree? It was just the tree. So it was behind, and I'm from Fort Lauderdale, so in South Florida there's like our neighborhood was like weird, like everyone had their own yard, but for some reason there was like a lake behind a certain strip of houses that we like crawled through like vines. And of course as a child, like it was so much more grandeur in my head, so in my memories it's like this magical forest, like we're like crawling through people's yards, and like I don't know if people saw us, but in our heads it was like this like crazy Amazonian forest, and we get to like behind the trees around the lake, and then it opens up to like a lawn and this huge tree, and we were just like, oh, look at this tree. And in the tree we created like a whole city in this tree. We would climb it. There was like a rope. There was like different rides where like if you pulled on this branch, it made this branch like kind of bounce up and down. We had the gravity spot. We had the slide down. We had like things where you can like roll off the top branch. So I was never like afraid of heights or anything, but the imagination and the athletics and the like climbing trees and flipping off and sliding down and rolling off of was like always part of it. But we would create our own world around that like trail to the tree and then the tree. So
wow.
You just like triggered all that. I don't even remember what the original question was now.
No, the question was it was, you know, the imagination and the creativity as a kid. And the only reason I asked that is because of the fact that, I was an only child, and
Mm,
kind of along the same type of idea, um, we had uh, the block behind. So you had our set of houses on the north side, the set of south houses on the south side of the street, and then behind that alley of those houses was a virtual like fenced in, uh, I guess, just random vines and trees and plants and stuff,
mhm.
and it was very unkept. And above that was train tracks for the freight trains to bring in Chicago. They would, bring in the goods to the city. Well, this area, as we were in maybe fourth or fifth grade, there was already, you start hearing whispers because it was called Hobo's Jungle. Because the theory was is that people who were hitching rides on the rails would then jump down, roll down the side, and camp out and live in this, jungle of a forest. So it was always like this amazing like journey, because there was like you had to learn where the hole in the fence was, be getting through that, and then you're always on edge because what you're looking for essentially is danger, because you're
Yeah.
looking for a hobo.
So,
It was like, yeah, and it was, it's just so wild, because in your head you just create this universe, and like, oh my god, when I was growing up, it was right around the time for us that Stand By Me came out too.
mhm.
So we were very intrigued, as most, you know 10-year-old, 11-year-old, 12-year-old boys are, on the potential of finding a dead body like they did in Stand By Me. And so it was just like, wow, man, you know,
We'll find a dead hobo.
we'll find a dead hobo, and we'll be famous because we'll have found this person. And it's just amazing how, when you're creative, and then when you just can find those things that make you so open to believing something else, believing in I love, that idea that you guys see this tree, and it's just, and in reality, if you see that scene in a movie, like, you guys see the huge forest, and then the
Uh-huh.
reality is that it's like you cut to like this nice little small tree. It's like,
When I went back there, I actually, when we were like, I think around 21, 22, my friend and I got back together. We're like, let's go look at that tree again. And it was so sad because we're just like,
oh,
but it was like, so we're like, well, it's just like old and dead now. When we were younger, it was much more lavish. And like, even there, behind the tree, I didn't mention this, was like almost like a weeping willow tree. So there was like the tree that went up that we climb, and then another tree that kind of caved in, and that's where the danger was, because we were like, we swore people lived in there. We also found like sheep and stuff. We were like, what is this? Like when you start like
yeah, yeah,
getting into like discovery mode and curiosity mode. But
yep,
I think that like that level of uh, just joy for the possibility of what if, and curiosity and imagination, and not believing in like, this is reality, grow up, be join reality, like wake up, snap out of it. Me resisting that to like my core, like, is what I think has kept me going in the lifestyle that I'm in now, because I don't believe that things are supposed to be done a certain way. I believe that there is ways for things to be done in more ways than you can even fathom. And that's where I think my concept with quantum science is really built in, and to find a study that is being done by like neuroscientists and solidifying that something I believed in, but like subconsciously, but now looking at it in like reality terms, that like everything I thought could be possible. And now
yep,
there's science being backed up by it. I'm like, this is great. I can just be a kid forever. Like growing up is a trap, and it kills creativity. And I never want to lose that part of me, that spark, that passion, that flame of like, there's endless, like there, if you get bored in life, you're doing it wrong. There's so many things that you can dive into. And I heard that quote somewhere and I was like, you know what? They're right. If I'm ever doing my life going along, and it's happened where I find myself like, I feel bored, stagnant, I'm unhappy, I'm in a routine, I feel like a gerbil in a wheel in New York City doing the same thing over and over and over again. Like, yeah, I'm making good money, but like, oh my God, that happened for like maybe like a few months, maybe it lasted for like a year. And then I was like, who am I? Like had to like crack out of a shell and remember who I was again. And then I was like, all right, I'm going back, I'm doing dance auditions, I'm going to do a bodybuilding show, I'm going to wrestle. Like,
No,
yeah.
it's fascinating because what's really interesting about it is now I'm just gonna say here's your homework, and it's the best pieces of homework you can ever do, and that is watch Peter Pan.
Oh,
And watch
that is
it,
my favorite.
and you just watch it every few years because it will always remind you that what you saw in that tree, it's still there, but you got to be able to see it. And I think that that's the thing. It's like when we have that so much potential as a kid is because of the fact that we can project anything.
Yeah.
And then when we hit the age where now you've got the stress of bills, you got the stress of showing up for work, like you said, you start losing yourself.
Yeah.
And you have to always kind of draw back and go, you don't want to be Peter Pan because you don't want to just be a trapped kid forever. You want to grow a bit. But that's what we see in the character of Wendy. She'll never land. And unlike her parents, when she has kids, she'll encourage, the window will be left open so those kids can experience it too.
I love this.
Yeah, that's where you go, oh shit. All right. So yeah, I love that you are there on that level of, and it carries over to what you're doing, of course, because now you have the freedoms of not being trapped in, this vanilla that we all kind of fall into. I look at a lot of people, when you're able to see people's lives now on Facebook, people that you knew, and you go, oh my God, as a kid, they were so like just on fire, man. They were feisty and they were fun and stuff. And you're seeing them like
now they're tame.
They're tame. Here's the key too, I think, and this might go with the quantum idea, but my feeling is if you never lose that kid inside of you, you don't show your age like those people who have. Those people look old.
That's another thing that the timepiece is about too. There's one of my huge teachers in life is Ram Dass, and he's on my like yoga philosophy teachings and stuff. And I went to like a seminar that he hosted virtually, or his organization did because he's no longer with us. But he talks about aging, and if there's anyone more childlike that I've ever been under the guidance of a teacher with, it's been through his teachings, because he maintains the idea of keeping that childlike energy, that youthful vitality. I'm not even going to call it childlike because it's just a vitality that is so pure that you naturally are born with, that then gets things layered on top of it of how you should be, what's okay, what's not okay, look like this, don't look like this. And I think that there's a lot of paradigms being broken about that, which is great. But with Ram Dass, in the concept of time and the concept of aging, keeping that central focus of your own vitality and love for life while you age without resistance is what also keeps you youthful. With every year that you gain, reflect on it and appreciate it. And then when every little new wrinkle, when you smile, like that's earned, and that's
Right.
beautiful. And that's not something, the more like you stress over getting the crease here or the crease here because of age, then you stress out about that. Then you're not even living life anymore. You're worrying about the past. And
Right.
that's another thing, circling into Joe Dispenza. If you're constantly thinking about what was, you're never living in the now or in the future. You're in the past. So what are you creating? You're creating more of the past. You're living more in the same. So time is what you want it to be based on where your focus is. So
Yeah.
like every year that I earn another year of life, I'm like, yes, I'm going to take that other year, that this new year that I just earned, put it in my back pocket. But I'm still me. I'm still this vital force. And I do whatever I can to support that. Like, and that goes down to my nutrition, my activities, my things that I do outside of wrestling to sustain myself, to have a good self-care routine so that I can maintain the energy, the frequency, the vibration that I want to not bring to other people, but that I want to hold myself at. Because if I don't feel good, anyone around me is not going to feel good, because that energy, you can feel it. It is tangible. And there's more and more studies being shown on that. I'm not just frou-frou with it, but like,
Oh,
it's a real, if you're in a bad mood, you sit down next to someone, they're going to be like, oh, I feel weird all of a sudden. I think he's in a bad mood. And now it's touching me. Like, take your aura somewhere else. But,
yeah. Yeah. No, you're so right. Because I think that, you know, if you look at, let's say you're in a bar and you're having a drink with a friend, you guys are talking. I think the idea of vibes, you know,
yeah.
you give
Oof.
up. And I think we were drinking one night in Hollywood, just about 20 years, and my friend, his friend, she was a friend of his growing up on the same block, right? This
Mm.
Tracy. And this is the first time I really got a chance to meet and talk to Tracy. And my buddy, he had left. So we are, finishing our drinks, and we're just, I mean, it's just normal chit chat like you and I are having, just talking and kind of just getting to know each other. And we feel this presence walk up, and it's Vince Vaughn. And Vince Vaughn goes, "Hey, tell me something. How long have you two known each other? Because me and my girl, we have a bet going on. How long have you known each other?" And we're like, "We really just kind of met through a friend. We're talking." He's like, "I knew it. I knew it. I'm gonna tell her. I knew it." And they had been watching, just talking, and out of all the people in the bar, it was us they were focused on. And it was because we were giving off these vibes, and he could pick up on this. And it's like, that's the type of creative people I love, because we see that in each other. I see that.
Yes.
I know that there's stories there about you as a youth finding this, spectacular thing, because you don't lose that. I think everyone talks about through history and writings, the so-called fountain of youth. Well, the fountain of
Yeah.
youth is actually been inside of you the whole time. You don't have to search for it, because it's right here.
It's inside. Yes. Oh
uh,
man.
yeah, so i think
100%.
I think we're going to make sure we wrap up here, because
Okay.
I kept you a little longer than I said I would, but I
I
mean,
don't even care.
how cool.
This is so great.
But we'll stay in touch. I want to make sure that before we go, you let people know your social media handles so they can follow you and watch your journey. And we'll, of course, anything that you let us know about, we'll share so that people see that as well. And
Thank you.
you can give your social media handles.
All right. Well,
People,
I'm hoping that. Oh,
yeah.
what?
Oh no, I was going to say, people definitely check it out and follow Ashley's career, from learning about her now to where she's going to go by the time she's 75 years old. And follow her for life.
I really appreciate that. So I'm gonna just say it, and I hope that when it's posted, the spelling of my name will be down there, so they can just look at that.
Yeah,
But
well,
so for Instagram, it's at Ashley Damboise. And then for Twitter, it's at Ashley_Damboise.
And it's so much easier to spell it than to say it, because some of us are just
Is it easier to spell it?
There's
all those silent French letters, the Y, the O-I, the S. People don't know about the E.
But that's so funny, because to me, because this is one thing I found out about myself. I am one of those who, if I read something like that, the reason I can't get it out of my head what I read is because now when I say it, I see the spelling of
every letter.
Yeah, so it's like, oh, dude. But yeah, I am so happy we got a chance to chat. This is phenomenal to see what you're doing, to just get to know you. I'm so glad. Of course, I'm going to shout out a friend of ours, Travis, who pointed me in your direction. And
thank you, Travis.
Definitely, definitely, it means a lot. And please, if you guys are listening or watching, again, follow Ashley, because the journey has just started and you've already lived so much. I can't wait to see this phase of your professional life and just where you're going to go and how you're going to climb the mountains that are in front of you. And or I shouldn't say mountains, I say how you're going to climb that big tree in front of you.
Yes. Damboise of the trees, right? Bring me there. Let's go.
On that note, everyone, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.